Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in James Kent, aka Perturbator. How are you doing today, James?
I'm pretty good. What about you?
I'm hanging in there, all things considering. It has been a nightmare time in the world. And
Oh yeah, yeah.
before anything
Abs-
else, I hope you're okay, your family, your collaborators, your friends. I hope everyone is as well
yeah,
as can be.
yeah. It's all good. It didn't hit us, or it didn't hit me. Neither my loved ones. So it's cool. Yeah,
Right on. It's not lost on me that you tour constantly. I have seen you, fortunately, on two continents. We have covered you all over the world, luckily,
mm,
in the last few years. And I know that you tour a lot, and so
yeah,
even though I'm thrilled to get all this new music from you, this album and this EP, I feel bad because I'm sure this has been, first of all, the longest period of time you've been off the road, probably in a decade
yeah,
or more,
yeah.
and then also probably the loss of income is crushing.
It's to be very honest, it's kind of okay. I mean, I don't have. I can't really complain on this front because the shows haven't been my main source of income, and it's mostly the vinyls and the digital sales actually for me that does it. So that's cool. It just really sucks because I do miss playing shows. I do miss going on stage. Simply just being on the road and even like visiting places. It's something that I'm really looking forward to once everything gets better.
Right on the 23 hours a day of waiting around to play your set. At least you can
Yeah,
meet interesting people and see cool places.
absolutely. Yeah. That's one of my favorite part of touring.
And so, I of course, so Lustful Sacraments is the new album coming out this week. By the time this runs, it'll be out already. So I'm really excited. Normally, I don't always get to talk to artists before the album arrives. It's coming out on Blood Music, excellent label. They're doing a great job with you.
Yeah,
And so I wanted to kind of discuss just in general, in this period of time, what was kind of the genesis of this record. You had this huge record with Uncanny Valley. I had been following you before that, fortunately, but
yeah.
critical fans, everybody loves the record. Then you kind of throw a curveball with the next release. It's just, I'm going to do something for me, basically, that hopefully you all like. And then this new bunch of music. So I wanted to kind of get the time frame between releases.
It's basically it's been like 3 years in the making. Lustful Sacraments, which is a long time, but it's I had New Model that I got released, which is an EP released after Uncanny Valley, which was already a change of a change of style, a bit darker, a bit less less 80s inspired and more industrial sounding, I would say. And then after I finished this one, I was actually on the road on tour when it got released, and I already had planned the idea for Lustful Sacraments, and I already knew what I wanted to do after that. I knew that I wanted to make a love letter to you know goth music and post punk music, uh, basically, and mix it with the sounds of Perturbator and the DNA of Perturbator. So I started the album Lustful Sacraments. I started it like 2 years ago, roughly, yeah. And then all the tours, all the shows, and also stuff in my private life. I had to move houses and stuff like this. It just got super complicated for me to write music, and it's only since the pandemic that I could actually sit down and really finish it, the album.
Naturally, yeah, of course. And maybe that's the blessing of all this is time, right? Time with friends and family, time to work on creative things.
Yeah,
I can certainly relate. So
right.
before we dive into the music, I love the idea. First of all, I love the track, and I love obviously the name of the album, Lustful Sacraments, is so it's just so much to unpack with that name. So I wanted to so like sex and religion, but other things too, just
Hmm.
deeper things. So I wanted to kind of, you don't have to reveal too much if you don't want to,
Hmm.
maybe personal to you, but I wanted to know if there was kind of a concept behind that, just that
Yeah,
title, or, the album
yeah.
itself.
There's absolutely a concept. It is a concept album, and there's even like a little story that is tied to it. Just I didn't wrote it anywhere because I kind of wanted people to figure it out by themselves, just by looking at the lyrics and stuff in the songs. But I can tell you roughly what it is. It's basically about a fictive um, a fictive city where nothing is forbidden and everything is in overabundance, and so people become addicted to drugs, and they use it every day. They drink every day. They gamble, stuff like this, and they become like just crazy. They lose a part of themselves, uh, because they have too much of what they love. So and there's a whole aspect, religious aspect around it too. But that's another thing. So it's really an album about uh, self-destruction.
Again, another thing is very relatable in these
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
But yeah, it's a terrific album, and I love. You already mentioned the post punk, but I feel like there's this other thread that's running through here that's really pronounced, except for the EP. That this is also a lot more, cinematic and almost
yeah.
soundtracky. Very. I know you love Carpenter. I'm a huge Carpenter-ophile
Oh,
musically, as well as
yeah,
his
yeah.
films. So I hear like a lot of ominous, sort of things that set up other things, set the table for other tracks. So I really love
Sounds,
those.
yeah, soundscapes. Very. I know what you mean. There's sort of like a urban sounds, sort of like sirens in the distance, stuff like this, which is very yeah. This is something that I've always kind of done, but I'm just you know improving on that. I mean, you know, doing it more and more, and it takes a much more bigger place in my music. Yeah, the soundtrack part.
Yeah, I can totally, envision a future where you're getting to score movies and things like that on a huge scale, because I think it really lends itself to what you do.
Yeah, yeah. So, thank you.
You're welcome. It's my hope for you. Beside getting shows back to play.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so, before I unpack the rest of the tracks and some other questions I have, I wanted to talk for a second about Excess, because we also have this
Mhm.
Excess Reimagining EP with,
Yes.
many of your peers, who all were gushing about the opportunity to be on this. I'm a huge, health and author and Punisher and
Oh
artists
yeah,
like
yeah,
that. So I mean, like,
yeah.
real, tremendous stuff. And I think that the single is out now. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that decision.
Mhm.
How did that work? Had that process work? Did you give them like raw tracks and stems? How does that work these
Yeah.
days?
So the thing is, yeah, we already had released Excess. I already released it a while ago, actually, back in 2019, and when it was time to remake it, basically to put it in the album for real, we wanted to re-release it, and then I felt kind of bad for re-releasing a track that I've already showed to people, and so we came up with the idea that maybe if I ask not for remixes, but more like a free form cover of the song made by friends. So Dennis from Refuse and his band Envision, I think it's called,
Mm.
and yeah, the guys from Health, Author and Punisher, uh, Pig Destroyer. She passed away, and Azu. It, it- the idea was to make each cover would be it's like the same song, but it's a complete different reimagining of the song, and that was kind of it sounded super interesting for me to do that, and then we asked the guys, all the bands, and they were all into the idea, and when we started to receive the first covers. It was so surreal to hear the song that I made, but like reinvented by a band that I like. So that was really cool. Yeah.
And super cool to see the, this kind of spirit of collaboration, even if it's just kind of conceptually, and then you let them do their thing.
Yeah.
You don't see that much of this anymore, this spirit and this openness. I think that, first of all, underground music will let you do that, and major labels won't usually as much, maybe a little more than they used to, but not so much. And then again, like, it's a really great kind of equal passing of respect between these artists that you are a fan of, and also they all seem super stoked. And you couldn't get, even though there are things that unite these groups, you couldn't get more different sounds than a typical Pig Destroyer song than She Passed Away or Atsu. So, even though there are things that unite them all, I like that they're all very different groups.
Yeah, that was the appeal of it too. Like it was very essential that the bands had like complete free reign over what they wanted to do. I told them you can even invent new lyrics or whatever. So that's really cool. I think Health did that. They added more lyrics than the original track. So yeah, that was important because a remix is it's a remix, and it's like it's just no matter how good a remix can be, it's always going to be very limited by the stems, by the original track, trappings, sort of, even maybe the BPM sometimes, stuff like this. So a cover is a bit much more free, yeah, free form idea. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. No, it's great. And of course, as we delve into the rest of the albums, we talked about the title track and these sort of in between spaces. I love the use of space. Actually, I think that's kind of a misconception. Is in this style of music, there is room to breathe. There is space. It's not incessant beats or incessant, constant action or notes. There are spaces to breathe. The music does open up. And I personally, my favorite tracks are Death of the Soul and Dethroned Under a Funeral Haze. I was wondering if you had a personal favorite track so far of this new music.
My favorite is I would say it's the last track. It varies sometimes between Dethroned Under a Funeral Haze, which I really like, and God Says, the last track, which both use use the silence, like you say, the sort of like a slower pacing that I think are really important too, in this type of music.
Right on. And of course, God Says features Hangman's Chair. They just signed a new record deal, so congrats to them. And you have many guests on this record. I think this is probably the most collaborators you've ever worked with on a project collectively. So it's really, I wanted to ask kind of, what's that process like for you to choose someone, or did people approach you all the time and are I'm sure they're dying to work with you? Well,
the thing is, a lot of these collaborations on the album are from close friends of mine, like buddies that hang out with me, and we go to parties and stuff. So it's kind of like it was very natural and kind of easy, and it sometimes comes out on a whim, like, oh, can you I tell my friend, like, oh, can you like take the mic and like scream excess just like for a second, and then I'll use it on the track, and stuff like this. So it's really easy for that. And then for the bands themselves, well, for True Body and Hangman's Chair, that's also kind of easy because I'm also kind of friends with them, and I'm sending them the tracks, the stems, the stuff like this, and tell them about the theme of the album, tell them how to what it's about and stuff. So it's pretty easy too, I want to say. I mean, it's easier. It's always easy to work with people and you're friends with.
Of course, yeah, naturally you have that repartee. Just in respect to time, I just have a few more questions left for you. But of course, I wonder with these times, if you have your, when you're making a record, if you have your go-to gear set up, or if you've, incorporated anything new during this time off between releases.
Well, It's basically the same setup. It's my go-to setup, and I just added the guitars, but the guitars are also something that I already was adding in one of my side projects called L'Enfant de la Forêt,
Mm.
which is a dark ambient type of thing. So honestly, it was very familiar. I was mostly working with familiar gear, familiar stuff in same place, same time.
Nice, of course. Yeah, I just always wonder if if the time we've had, the extra, if we want to call it extra time or downtime, or no, there is no real downtime, I'm sure, for you working wise. But if anything came across your mailbox or your workbench or your workstation that you wanted to, if I got a new sampler I wanted to throw in. I never thought of that before. Those things are always,
Yeah.
yeah, those things are always possible. It's kind of funny. I heard a really great quote, which was like, when I was broke, I couldn't afford any gear at all, and I had to beg, borrow, and steal. And then when I finally got famous, everyone wants to give me free stuff. It's not quite like
Yeah.
it's not quite like that anymore, but that quote always
No,
stayed with
yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's weird. I've never, you know what? I've never got approached actually, except maybe Dave Smith's instruments. They've been really kind to me. There's no sponsorship or anything like this because those are pretty expensive synthesizers that they make.
Mm,
Uh, and but they did make me a price one time. It was a while ago because in San Francisco my gear got stolen. So
right.
and then Dave Smith reached out to me and like said, "Oh, we can replace it. We'll make you a price and stuff." And they were super nice about it.
That's cool.
Definitely.
That's
Yeah.
nice to hear.
Yeah.
Everybody's missing out, man. They could get an opportunity with you if they just hit you up.
Yeah.
Give you something, man. Help you out and promote each other.
Oh, oh well, Denable,
Yes,
the guitar maker, Denable made me a custom model, which is it's awesome. Yeah,
I love
very
Sasha.
cool.
He's one of my favorite
Yeah,
people.
Sasha Denable, really nice, fucking nice dude. Love him.
Yes, super nice. And he has an awesome tattoo of a guitar pedal, like a delay pedal
I've
tattoo,
oh my, I've never
like
seen
the
it.
inner workings of the pedal, like
Oh
the
God,
wiring,
that's
the
a
schematic
good
is
idea.
brilliant.
Good idea.
Yeah, fun stuff. Just kind of for a final question, I'm always fascinated as to, like, for me, I'm old, so all this music is very familiar to me, and I love it. And I've been, I follow all these artists and many more, and it wasn't foreign to me when it started kind of coming into the underground and metal bands started using it. But I'm always curious, why do you think heavy music fans gravitated to you? Because you have a huge audience with our community.
Yeah, it's it's a good question. It's one that I've never quite managed to find a real answer to. But what I can tell you is that I think there's a connection between the sort of like mood of my music and maybe some metal music. I listen to a lot of black metal myself. I love the atmospherics of black metal. I love this sort of this feeling of being, I don't know, in a forest at night in the snow, some shit like this. And I think synthesizers by default are very moody instruments. They can be cheesy, of course, but like a synth pad or a synth strings or something like this, it can sound very very moody. And you listen to old soundtracks like John Carpenter and stuff, it can have this sort of like evil vibe to it that I think metal fans would like.
Right on. Love that. Hey, it's good. That's a good attempt. I think that's pretty cool. I think that
Yeah.
kind of gets to
That's
the
my
heart.
my best guess.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. James Kent, man, thank you so much for hanging out with
Thanks to
Ghost
you.
Cult today. Congratulations on this new album with Perturbator coming out this week. It'll be out now
Thank
by
you.
the time people hear it. We'll link everything in the description where people can buy it. And I know you have tour dates at the end of the year, so hopefully we'll get to see
Yeah.
you live soon and more new
Fingers
music
crossed.
and everything.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Thank you, man. It was very fun.